secret to success is consistency. Stick to your purpose and work hard. Otherwise, success is just a dream.
Well, today is World Blood Donor Day, celebrated every year on the 14th of June to encourage voluntary blood donation. Really important. You do not know whether that one move can save a life. They would say something as simple as a teaspoon would save an infant's life. So why don't you go out there and, get tested? Be told whether you're eligible to donate blood. It's really, really important. Hundreds and millions of people out here in hospitals waiting for that one simple step of you donating blood. So why don't you be a constant blood donator? Really, really important if we all have to come together to make sure that we keep the world beating. That is the theme of this year. Give blood and keep the world beating. We'll be having a conversation later on with a specialist in regards to the same. We get to understand the nitty-gritty details as to what entails blood donation. So karibu sana, make sure that you keep it right here. Importantly, it's a Monday. Remember that every Monday we look at a state of the nation, what is happening in the nation currently, that in regards to matters, politics, and numerous other things, current affairs, name them. So much is happening right here. The global fraternity, Benjamin Netanyahu officially out as Israel Prime Minister, overtaken by a different individual, of course, in the coalition aspect of opposition, that is Bennett, and we're looking forward to see how his reign is going to be. It's going to be a different one, though Benjamin Netanyahu maintains that he will be back. A different face of Israel, or in Israel, coming amidst the tough moments that have been there between the battles that are mated in Israel and the Philistines. So much is happening there, and we'll be following up to give you updates of the same story, of course, that has been captured in the papers and across. We'll be looking at all that even as we continue, and the G7 summit coming to a close with these leaders focused much on the aspect of ensuring that so much is addressed globally, as they promise to come in handy to help the global fraternity at large deal with matters COVID-19, even as they promise to, of course, donate lots and lots of vaccines across the global fraternity to make sure that we are able to tame the spread of COVID-19. Importantly, they are so much huge on matters climate, as they say, such is going to be addressed across. You have seen the United States also coming in handy to make sure that they are part and parcel of this battle, one that had been, of course, looked at as a failing battle by the predecessor of, that is Joe Biden, or the previous president of the United States, that is Donald Trump. So much happening, and we'll be looking at all that as we proceed with the broadcast. It's good to have you, and so much also happening right here in the country in terms of politics. We discuss all that even as we continue. The key things that we'll be looking at, well, the battle that is still on between the arms of government, and not forgetting the battle for succession, a couple of different regions, trying to flex their muscles as they prepare themselves for 2022. What will happen for Mount Kenya? Well, the succession politics is on a defiant Mount Kenya. A possibility of a split. What would that mean for the key contenders that would wish to position themselves to take up the kingmanship from President Uhuru Kenyatta? And also that hint, but Right Honorable Raila Odinga, that NASA coalition could as well again work together in 2022, something that has been quashed by the likes of Musalia Mudavadi, who were the main brains behind the NASA coalition. We'll be looking at all this, so make sure that you keep it right here. It is my pleasure to take you through. My name is Linda Alela. The broadcast, that is Morning Cafe, begins right away. Hashtag Morning Cafe at Linda_Alela TV 47KE. To the papers, what has been captured on the front page of the Standard newspaper, the Daily Nation, and the People Daily. As always, that's what we look at this morning. And briefly, we also take you through what is happening on the roads. Really, really important that we understand that. And so here we are. Let's look at what is captured on the papers. Well, looks like my system wants to misbehave on me, but all the same, we're here, yes. The Daily Nation, that is right here. And Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu hosted a story captured on page 20. Like we said, it's a developing story. We'll be here to update you on our subsequent bulletins. And who's fooling who in a row of a judge's appointment. Well, was list of the tainted officials changed? That's a question that is being asked, an allegation that has been made or fronted by these key individuals within the setup of the legal fraternity, something that has gotten many, questioning the credibility of the entire process, and still guns blazing on President Uhuru Kenyatta to appoint the 6 left. Of course, something that he remains adamant he will not do for as long as it's going to alter the interest of the common mwananchi, the public, and the rule of law. What, again, many argue is also a show of a president who's gone against the constitution, a conversation that is still developing. We'll be looking at that as we proceed. Now, politics, or into politics. CSs, governors, and government officials are in 2022 new dispensation. Well, Ruto molds in Uhuru cabinet. That is one thing that is being, of course, projected out here, that President Kenyatta is presiding over a cabinet that is divided or with divided loyalties, amid reports that some members are only bidding their time before they openly go out there to support Deputy President William Ruto's presidential campaign. The DP has himself said that he has had secret meetings with CSs sympathetic to his political course. A story captured on page 45. I would want to believe that this is not strange, knowing very well that at that point when the cabinet was being, set, of course, these individuals were being selected by President Uhuru Kenyatta, there was that conversation that, well, it was being split between individuals that are allied or are more of course, foot soldiers of DP, and those ones who are foot soldiers to him himself, President Uhuru Kenyatta, and therefore one would not be surprised to hear such. Even as we talk of a 2022 succession, Mount Kenya is defiant. The emergence of two factions, that is Mount Kenya East and the Mount Kenya West, is one that is likely to polarize leaders within the president's camp, with the division likely to weaken their offensive against Deputy President William Ruto's hustler team in the region, despite Mount Kenya's insistence, or despite Mr. Kenyatta's insistence that it is the turn for other communities to go out there and move into State House. The declaration by some of his loyalties that the region will still field a presidential candidate could be one that is interpreted as defiance. A story that has been captured on page 6 throughout the weekend, or over the weekend. We've seen these Mount Kenya leaders being adamant that it is either presidency or nothing else, while many argued that initially they had flexed their muscles for taking a position 2, while most of them calling upon leaders who are interested in taking up the country's top seat to make sure that they have the interest of the Mount Kenya at heart. It's going to be an interesting thing to watch, and therefore this morning we extensively expound on that. We discuss that as we have two leaders from the mountain that will tell us their view on the same. Form 1 selection results are expected to be out. That is tomorrow. The long wait for incoming Form 1 learners and their families to know the secondary schools they have been admitted to will come to an end tomorrow, when selection results will be released. And well, the CS has assured that all the 1.18 million candidates who sat the KCPE examinations will definitely be placed in secondary schools. However, new rules will make it harder for learners admitted to schools they don't prefer to transfer to other schools. A story captured on the back page of the Daily Nation. We'll be looking at that as we proceed. Well, that is the 1.18 million, as mentioned, is the number of candidates that sat the 2020 KCPE examinations. They will join Form 1 next month. We'll be waiting to see how that culminates in the agricultural sector, inside new plans to rescue coffee sector and make growing cash crop profitable. Well, after the recent uprising in the tea sector, where farmers took on the Kenya Tea Development Authority, revival of abortive coffee reforms are partly helped by the new legislation is starring the sector. And a story captured on page 10. We all know that we've seen these farmers crying out foul, mostly as they say they're not able to make money, or they're not able to make a kill out of the effort they've put in having these, entities fruitioning, and also their product or their produce being able to, give them value for the energy they have put. On the front page of the Standard newspaper, and Uhuru won't save Jubilee as allies scatter. Well, political trends show that parties fade after winning presidency, and Jubilee is headed for the same. And President Uhuru Kenyatta seemingly disinterested in saving it from the collapse. Utterances from different leaders that are still in the Jubilee party, showing a scenario where indeed, as claimed, maybe the party is on, that deathbed, but equally others say that their plans to revamp and revive this political party is going to be a show of might within these parties again, or within this party itself, even as these individuals that speak of a revival of the same are equally individuals with great interests of, just getting to a level where even the party will be there to make sure that they front these particular individuals, of course, for the big seat come 2022. But just how interested is President Uhuru Kenyatta for the same? Well, is a question of wait and see, knowing very well that constitutionally his term ends in 2022, but his is focused much on ensuring that he leaves a legacy, and therefore we wait to see how then he's going to handle these allegations of a dead Jubilee party. Away from it, tough times for Raila in NASA revival. Well, as we have said, is one thing that we'll be discussing. We also have a member of parliament who was elected under ANC. And of course, when we talk about ANC, we certainly know that that was part and parcel of the NASA coalition. The leader of ANC, Musalia Mudavadi, yesterday arguing that he is not keen to see the NASA coalition working together again. Well, raising doubts as to what then plays out if such is to be the case, and if we are to go by what it is that Right Honorable Raila Odinga speaks about, then what happens to the Cerelac party that many spoke about, the One Kenya Alliance? We can only wait to see. We'll be discussing this and the possibilities of the same as we continue with the broadcast, so make sure that you keep it right here. An interesting story: married woman fails to stop workmate from child's DNA test. Well, this workmate argues that the child that this woman has is that he is the dad, and therefore the married woman says no, such is not the case. Well, the man says he would want to be part and parcel of raising the child, but the woman maintains that this is a child that she sired with her husband. It's an interesting one. You can always grab your copy and get to see on Matters Health. Men don't just fall sick, they feel unwell. Scenarios of how tough situations can be for men, and the fact that they're not always there confident to speak out of their situation. That is the story that has been captured right there on page 7 of the Standard newspaper. You can grab a copy and get to see some of these crucial stories, really interesting pieces. As we can see, married woman fails to stop workmate from child's DNA. That's an interesting story as captured there. Africa decries huge vaccination gap as COVID-19 caseload hits 5 million. And well, we can only hope that, such is going to be addressed, as we have seen from the G7 summit. The argument that these countries would be out there to make sure that they help other African countries that are struggling to get the vaccine be able to access the same. And therefore, we can close it at that, even as we await to have our guests so that they can help us go through the newspapers. And briefly, let's cross to what it is that my team has compiled. 6 people have been killed in tribal attack that involved the Samburu and Turkana communities from Isiolo County. And according to Isiolo County Commissioner Herman Shambi, the attackers tried to steal livestock, as Andrin Kilemi reports.
Six people have been killed in a clash pitting 2 pastoralist communities in Buffalo Springs area, Isiolo County. Confirming the incident, Isiolo County Commissioner Herman Shambi said attackers from the Samburu community raided the Turkana territory and tried to steal livestock from Turkana herders who resisted.
Hata kama tunasema Isiolo ni cosmopolitan, lazima tuangalie kwamba watu wako na maeneo yao ya machungaji. Sasa Samburu wamekuwa wanaenda kila mahali, wakaingia ile ya Turkana wakajaribu kuiba ng'ombe. Turkana wakaresist, wakapigana hapo. Ndio Turkana mmoja kama wao na hao Samburu 5.
5 attackers from the Samburu side and 1 herder were killed during the shootout. Shambi has asked various pastoralist communities in Isiolo County to respect each other's grazing zones to avert further flare-up. Andren Kilemi, TV 47.
Pretty much unfortunate. Now, National Assembly Speaker Justin Muturi has once again defended his recent coronation as the Gema spokesman. Muturi says his main mission is to unite the vote-rich region, as Micah Gwongo reports.
Speaking at ACK St. Luke's, Kenya, Jero in Kangema constituency, Murang'a County, which was celebrating its 50th anniversary, Muturi said his mission is uniting the region before making any other plans.
As long as you are constructive in your criticism of him, he'll let you do your bit. As long as you are constructive. When endelea na shughuli zako. Saa zingine some of it is idle criticism.
Pali unaona tukipotea hata kama mtu ni wa hii side ama ile nyingine, wewe utaweza kutushikanisha sisi wote kwa sababu umoja ni nguvu. Na hatutaki mtu yoyote akuje hapa Mount Kenya atutenganishe.
On Saturday, several leaders, among them governors and MPs who met in Kieni, hit out at Muturi dismissing his newfound spokesman role. CS Peter Munya, Kirinyaga Governor Anne Waigoro, and her Murang'a counterpart Mwagiwairia appeared rattled by Muturi's elevation as they hurled jibes at him. But the speaker has called on all the leaders from the region to forget their differences and seek the unity of Mount Kenya.
But appreciating that charity must begin at home. So we must have that peace and unity.
Kieni MP Kanini Kega, who accompanied Muturi, said the divisions in the region might cost it dearly come 2022, adding that the leaders have to propose to work together and deliver a win in the forthcoming general elections.
Tushikane pamoja, tutakapotoa ushindi, basi tutakuwa tunasema sisi kama jamii ya Mlima Kenya tutakuwa tukiwa kitu kimoja.
Several leaders from Mount Kenya East have proposed Governor Kiraitu Murungi to take over after President Uhuru Kenyatta's reign. For TV 47, Mike Kagwongo.
An initiative of Kama.
Well, that and the next story forms the basis of our conversation this morning. The next then is ANC party leader Musalia Mudavadi now says it will be hard to revive the National Super Alliance, that is NASA. Mudavadi's sentiment comes just days after his core principal in the coalition, Raila Odinga and Kalonzo Musyoka, hinted of a possible revival of NASA. Maria Mocharo with that report.
Speaking at the PAG church in Likoni, Mombasa County, ANC party leader Musalia Mudavadi pointed out at lack of trust within the NASA coalition. Mudavadi says NASA is already dead and might not be revived.
There is a serious deficit of trust in the NASA arrangement. Very serious deficit of trust. In fact, maybe it is irredeemable.
On Friday, ODM boss Raila Odinga and his Wiper counterpart Kalonzo Musyoka hinted at a possible revival of the coalition in a bid for the country's top job in 2022. Odinga and Kalonzo hinting of working together once again to front a presidential candidate.
We have, of course, NASA. Hatuja tupilia mbali NASA. Technically, it is there. I had our brothers in ODM wakisema when we had that by-election in Kibera, wakisema Secretary General sema imekwisha. Kabla ya mimi na Raila na Musalia na Weta kusema na mashinani governor kusema NASA imekwisha, haijakwisha.
Yale tulikuwa tumekubaliana, sharing of revenue resources, it has never been implemented. When it comes to how we were to work as parliamentary committees, mumesikia, principles of NASA were being removed. Removed from committees. Members of parliament being denied committees because they have taken a different stand.
Mudavadi has been on a political tour of the Coast region, a region he says he is open to working with. Mudavadi, however, claiming that mistrust within the coalition that challenged the Jubilee government in 2017 is the biggest hindrance in reviving NASA.
Hii agenda ya narrative ambayo inazungushwa every time wanasema, are you ready to work with X? Can you work with Y? Why don't you ever ask that X, is he ready to work with me? Don't try and create a narrative which is being spun.
Kitui Governor Charity Ngilu challenged Kalonzo and Raila to craft an alliance similar to the 2002 National Rainbow Coalition as the only strategy to beat Deputy President William Ruto.
Unajua NASA imekuwa kama ile ndoa, abusive marriage. Ile ndoa ambayo bwana anakupiga, anakunyima chakula, anakutukana. Mliona hata mimi nilikuwa deputy speaker, deputy minority leader katika NASA. Wakanitoa kama deputy minority leader. Mkaona paka Wetangula alikuwa minority leader, wakamtoa. Hata zile pesa kidogo walipata, tunapata kama NASA, ODM wamekatilia, hao ndio wanapata peke yao. Sisi tumesema we are no longer interested with a coalition that is abusive, with a marriage that is abusive. Hiyo ndoa ya NASA imekwisha ladha. Hatuna haja nayo. We want to find new partners.
Mudavadi, Kalonzo, KANU Chairman Gideon Moi and Ford Kenya Party leader Moses Wetangula have been pushing for a coalition. The leaders who had accompanied Mudavadi also faulted President Uhuru Kenyatta's decision to appoint 34 judges out of 41 who had been proposed by the Judicial Service Commission.
President fails to know, to understand what it means to respect the rule of law. Na uongozi mzuri lazima uanzie kwake. Sasa tunataka ifanyike hivi. President kama ameona kwa mfano kuna makosa kwa wale judges ambao walipendekezwa kuwa among the 41. One died, we were left with 40. Amechukua 34, amewacha 6. Na katiba inasema yeye akipata pendekezo kutoka kwa JSC inafaa atekeleze. Kazi yake ni kutekeleza, kazi yake si kuuliza maswali tena.
Mudavadi had been on a 2-day tour to the Coast region. Mariam Mwacharo, TV47, Mombasa County.
And since we'll be hosting Honorable Member of Parliament of Nambali, Bunyasi Sakwa, this morning, we eagerly wait to hear what he has to say on the same as Township Member of Parliament elected under ANC. And yes, part and parcel of the NASA coalition, he'll tell us whether indeed the position of his party leader is what stands. But away from it, with less than 13 months to the 2022 general election, succession plans are already brewing, that is in the Mount Kenya region. But with no apparent heir to the throne and President Uhuru Kenyatta reluctant to pick a successor, the region has been left on its own. Several leaders have declared their interest to succeed President Uhuru Kenyatta, but according to political pundits, the Nyeri consultation meeting could just be the beginning of a plot to divide the vote-rich region that could hand over the presidency to President Kenyatta's handshake co-principal, Right Honorable Raila Odinga.
When a section of leaders from the Mount Kenya region allied to President Uhuru Kenyatta met at a hotel in Nyeri on Saturday, succession plans topped the agenda.
And we are not only working as a team because of the general elections that are likely to be forthcoming soon, but also to look at our the way forward. Which other communities can we work with in this country?
But with the mountain split into two following the coronation of National Assembly Speaker Justin Muturi, as the region's spokesman, President Kenyatta's political backyard is not done with the presidency just yet.
The question of who becomes the next kingpin of Mount Kenya region will be decided on the 8th of August, on the 9th of August, 2022. Because at the end of the day, people will align. We shall look at your support. How many people have supported you? How many members of parliament do you have? The influence that you wield amongst your people.
We are in a transition phase We are transiting from the presidency of Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, the president we have supported for 10 years. We love him, we cherish him, and he shall forever remain our kingpin. However, it does not break anybody's bone if we sit together and form a coalition around an idea whose time has come. We must come together and be in our political party.
Several leaders from the vote-rich region are said to be eyeing the Harambee House office. They include Governors Anne Waiguru of Kirinyaga and Mwangi wa Iria of Murang'a, and Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Peter Munya, former Kiambu Governor William Kabogo, former Gatanga Legislator Peter Kenneth, and National Assembly Speaker Justin Muturi.
As we bargain for positions in the next government, I think it's not good to pretend. We'll be putting in our blueprint as a Mount Kenya region, and we'll be negotiating with those who are of like minds with us on how to achieve our economic agenda, whether it is our tea, our potatoes, our coffee, our milk, our pyrethrum, our avocados. We are the agricultural county, so we would like to form a government that is pro-agriculture and pro-youth.
So the main thing is what policies are being advanced and how protective are those policies to the interests of every Kenyan. So if the people in Mount Kenya think that the certain policies are better for them, and if they can be assured that they will not be fixed or messed up, who will become the vice president or deputy president is an irrelevancy as far as I'm concerned, because we have seen it before. It has not worked.
Several leaders eyeing the top seat, including Deputy President William Ruto, have been scrambling to get a portion of the mountain's votes.
As a community, we have the highest number of votes. We have a huge block, which cannot be ignored. Number two is that we are not requesting for deputy presidency from anybody. It is those who feel that our vote is important for them to come look for us.
Ruto's hustler narrative and growing influence in Mount Kenya is said to have pressed the political landmines. And while the handshake between Kenyatta and ODM leader Raila Odinga is largely perceived to be Odinga's political vehicle to State House in 2022, pundits believe that the mountain search for Kenyatta's replacement is a choreographed plan to reduce Ruto's Mount Kenya vote count in the ballot next year.
We have also said that nobody stops any person from aspiring for whichever position, whether the presidency, whichever position from our region, and we will encourage as many as possible, because we know that finally we have to be on that negotiating table for 2022. We cannot negotiate when we are out. We have to negotiate when we are inside.
Nimechoka na siasa ya umbwa na paka. If one dog is important when you're hunting, it should also be important when you're eating. We have supported Europe for 10. Let I not hear of another candidate.
We have stood with you people for a very long time. If you find now Muturi does not fit, si kumutusi na kumudharau na nini, sababu natudharau sisi sote. Lakini yale madharau munaonyesha. My friends, we are not going to be together. Hii haitaendelea tena. Wacha kama ni kupasuka, ipasuke. Watu waende kivyao.
If Uhuru were to endorse Raila directly, it would not be received well on the mountain. Even the few people who are still with Uhuru are likely to join those with Ruto in opposing Raila. So I don't see Uhuru doing it directly. What they will do, they will play games. And I'm telling you, like playing east and west of the mount is one of those games. So, because the intention of the handshake, Uhuru's intention, if I read the situation properly, is not to turn all the Kikuyus from Ruto to Raila. It's just to hive off a bit of that. Because Ruto requires almost the entire Mount Kenya region to add on his Rift Valley vote to be able to make it to State House.
Yes, people are trying to jostle. The people are looking for jobs for themselves in the name of communities. But that should not be the main consideration. There is no way in which two communities irrespective of how big they think they are, can win an election if the rest of the country is opposed. There's no guarantee that you are going to get all the Kikuyus voting one way. No such a thing. Or all the Kalenjins voting the other way. No such a thing. It's never happened and it will not happen.
In 2013, President Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto on a joint Jubilee ticket garnered over 6.1 million votes. But having fallen out with Kenyatta, and if he will be able to command an average of 3.3 million Rift Valley votes, Ruto would need at least half of the mountain's 5.3 million votes to make it to State House next year.
Jamii ya Gema ni jamii kubwa. Kwa hivyo hata kisiasa, kwa mfano, ukiangalia kura za Gema, utaona kwamba ni kura nyingi.
So any person thinking to come and negotiate with Mount Kenya, thinking that he will fragment Mount Kenya will negotiate as a common team. Mount Kenya will negotiate as a team.
So all that you'll need to damage Ruto is to get like 30% of Mount Kenya vote. And I think that's what Uhuru is targeting.
Even if you look at the figures right now, the discussions right now, it does not make sense. I'll give you a little scenario. If people are voting that ethnic calculations, there is no way Uhuru would have won. No way. Kibaki would not have won in 2007, which he did. No way he would have won. Especially when there was 40 against 1. And he still won, fairly. Very narrow, but why? Because it was not the mountain votes. It was the national vote that really came to his aid.
Odinga and Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka, who on Friday revealed their plans to work together in 2022, garnered a cumulative 5.3 million votes, 1.2 million votes shy of the cutoff.
Na nyinyi mkikaa hapo mnajua hakuna mmoja wetu peke yake anaweza kuwa rais wa Kenya. Mkikosa kushikana mutashindwa na huyu mtu. Na hatutaki kuingia kwa wheelbarrow. I do not want.
Kalonzo will not run alone. Kwanza Mungu ako pamoja nasi. All right? Tuko na huyu ndugu Raila ambaye tunajuana sana. All those 10 years ya kung'ang'ana bila kuogopa.
Mkiona wale wenzetu wameanza kuingiza maji kwa tumbo. Nilisikia wao jana wakisema wasipoungana huyu hasla atawanyorosha mapema asubuhi. So wanajaribu kuungana. Na mimi nataka niwaambie hiyo safari ya kuungana ni mzuri. Na wakati wanapoungana sisi tunaunda chama ambaye itabeba wananchi wote wa Kenya. Mimi nawatakia pia kama wataendelea kuwa na chama ya kabila hii na chama ya kona ile na chama ya kona ile, mambo yao bado itakwama.
A presidential backing for the duo from Kenyatta, who has hinted at not picking a successor from Mount Kenya, would present Ruto with a headache in the runoff. Pundits argue that Ruto, who has begun a campaign offensive in the diaspora, could leverage the over 5 million new voters expected to be added to the voting register before the 2022 polls.
So yes, there's nothing wrong with having a large chunk of votes looking as if they are ready, they are there for you. But there's no guarantee that they'll be there. And even if they were there, you combine. Yeah? Now, we don't know what the numbers will be next year because there has to be a registration, so that to capture the 5 or so million new voters who could not vote 5 years ago because they were underage. Now they are of age and they have to be taken into account. Now the numbers might go to about 24, 25 million. So if you assume that the Kalenjins and the Mount Kenya together 11 million, That's an assumption, which is wrong. And that they'll vote one way, which is wrong. Is still less than...
Musa Salah, TV 47.
Well, it is going to be interesting to watch for sure. That forms the basis of our conversation. Thank you so much, Musa, for such a great report that then triggers this conversation in a very good way. It's what that's played out over the weekend. That is in regards to just making sure that the vote-rich region stays together, stays united. But such is not the case, as now there's an official rift between the east and the west of the Mount Kenya. Is the mountain crumbling? Is one question we asked this morning. What will it mean for this rich region, or vote-rich region? Because then, in most cases, they've been known to always vote in unison or in one voice, something that has always guaranteed them a position at the top of the helm or somewhere around the table. If they are to go different ways, what would it mean for them politically at a point when they say it is either the presidency or nothing else? Or if they are to negotiate with any leader, then this leader should be speaking of a scenario where they are going to guarantee them something good, for that matter, that is on the table as they sit there. And therefore, that is what forms the basis of our conversation. Remember, as mentioned earlier on, we are expecting to get a hold of Honorable Sakwa Bunyasi, Member of Parliament of Nambale. We'll task him hugely to tell us on whether NASA coalition is likely to be revived or not. But importantly, the gentlemen that are here already, Ndegwa Wahome, that is, of course, the Chair County Assemblies Forum, is on standby, joining us virtually. And in studio, we have Honorable Anthony Ikonya, who's the Member of County Assembly, Kiambu Township. Good to have you, Mheshimiwa, after a long time.
This is a long time.
Kama ni wewe umetutupa.
Na nyinyi umenitupa, because you guys are doing well, we thank God.
By your man, we always have you at heart, and that's why we have you today. So karibu sana. All right, so the reason why I said importantly is because this gentleman will tell us whether the mountain has crumbled or not, and what then they are planning. And to extend, expand it even further, they'll tell us whether Jubilee Party is there or not. I know we had this conversation last week with Honorable Ndegwa extensively, but then again, it is a developing story, and therefore we do not fail to discuss it. Like they would say, a day in politics is like 100 years, and over time, things are changing, and therefore it's really, really important that we get to understand what the vote region has planned and what's important. What are they planning with their key party, Jubilee Party, the ruling party, yes, the key party in the country, but importantly, the key party in the mountain region. Good to have you, Mheshimiwa, once again. Honorable Wahome, good morning.
Good morning, Rita.
Karibu sana.
And I'm happy to be.
Asante sana. All right, is the mountain crumbling? Or it crumbled a long time ago?
I don't think that the mountain is anywhere near crumbling.
Okay.
The mountain is very resilient.
Okay.
And the mountain, they are brought together by their interests. Mm-hmm. And our interest is about the policies that help our people. And when we find the right person who is taking us the direction of putting something into our pockets, uplifting our economy, both micro and macro, in putting the right policies, as I've said, in the milk sector, in the tea sector, in the coffee sector, and in the potato sector, the rice sector, all those sectors that add value to the livelihoods of our people. That is the person, that is the glue that will bring Mount Kenya together. And therefore, people still, I can say from the groupings that met over the weekend in Embu, in Meru, in Nyeri, everybody is groping in the darkness. They are trying to find a direction. So there will be a lot of realignments. Some people looking for jobs, other people looking to help their people, and other people trying to ensure that they are present when things happen next year. But at the end of the day, the people of Mount Kenya, they are people who are wise, the people who have a lot of wisdom, and the people who can see through the lies and the deceit that is being bandied around, and they will unbundle
Well, I'll come back to you. I'll come back to you on that very note, because then when we're speaking about...
Yes, I'm saying the people of Mount Kenya, at the end of the day, things will settle down and the people of Mount Kenya will follow their interests.
How soon are things going to settle down? I'll come back to you on the very same note, but the very same question I will pose to Honorable Anthony Ikonya. Is the mountain crumbling?
I don't think it is. And it's not just about two.
Are you people living in denial or what?
No, let's be very honest. Like what the Honorable Ndegwa has told you, that the mountain is quite resilient, and with time this does to settle, and we'll see things moving. But what we have today are political alignments alongside, along looking for jobs. Because the idea, what you see, we have seen former governors, we've seen governors whose tenure is almost ending, we've seen governors who are not even sure of their re-election. So they're just looking for a place where they can hang on, and when the next government is being formed, then they have a slice of what they're calling the cake. But the question that begs for an answer is, who has the interest of the mountaineers at heart? You see, basically that's the biggest question. Because what you can see today are political functions at even seen arrangements between Kieleweke and what we have with the Tangatanga, for example, talking about the mountain. We had the other day the members of the Tangatanga fraternity, which I belong to and affiliate to, talk of an economic strategy for the mountain, and they were presenting that to the deputy president. But be that as it may, what you're simply saying is that nobody in this country, everybody in this country has the right to run for any office, including the presidency. And what I want to say is that anybody in the mountain who think that, and I will tell you when the mountaineers talk about the presidency and nothing less than that, is a question of that fallacy of you aim the sun and then you get the moon.
Yeah.
You know, you're looking for something, you want to place some very high demands. If it doesn't happen, then you settle for what is the second best.
But are you in agreement that these individuals that we're speaking about that are in search of jobs are equally voices that you cannot wish away when we're talking Mount Kenya politics? I quite agree, but if you look at it, Linda, nowadays the populace that we have, or the voters that we have, are no longer stupid. We no longer have those voters that will come to your home in the morning and they'll sing to you tune and all those things. At least we have a voter, populace that is thinking that you find them around markets and they're discussing some real and serious issues. So they're not just about to follow a group of people. And remember, some of these people you're seeing, they're trying to salvage the political lies. Some of these people that you're seeing are people who ran for governors and lost. Some of these people you're seeing are people, for example, I don't want to mention a couple of governors who, they're trying to survive. They're no longer sure whether they'll even get re-elected. So they're looking for spaces within government, the next government. They could probably land into a CS, any sort of a job, So because they don't want to run for a lower seat. So basically, largely as it is right now, I can see job seekers. All right.
Yes.
Well, that's interesting. The likes of, Kirinyaga member of Kirinyaga governor, these ones are people who would be guaranteed of, going to defend their very own particular seats, and their likelihoods that they would be there. So why would we want to argue that theirs is a huge interest on, finding themselves, a space politically? This is a person who's been a CS. This is a person that has grown, has risen to ranks, and therefore whether
agriculture being the engine of economic growth in Kenya, Richer Fields aims to educate, entertain, and take you round the world of rich fields when it comes to matters agriculture and agribusiness.
It's 800 shillings per kg. Where? Almost 100% profit.
We take you to the world of organic living.
Some people say organic is boring. It's actually not boring.
Strawberry farming and so much more. Richer Fields coming soon on TV 47. on the grind. We bring you different entrepreneurs who give the story of their businesses with love and passion.
I'm a musician forever. This is something that is inborn.
It excites me each day. It's a field that has always excited me.
Because when you show love to your business, it will show love to you.
The most rewarding bit of being a photographer is seeing a bride able to see her images of her wedding and evoke emotion in her and just relive the moment once again.
Get to hear these stories and so much more every Monday at 7:30 p.m. Pain, discomfort, and sleepless nights. These are just but a few of the things we go through on a daily that deteriorate our health. Body Garage is here to remind you on how to love and care for your body's health.
Finding our balance. Don't worry, you'll finally come back again.
Self-care and love is the best gift you can give. Tune in every Thursday at 7:30 p.m. On Coffee with Movie, we bring you great testimonies from amazing personalities.
Mwanzo wa kwanza alikaa ndani ilikuwa intense because alikuwa alikuwa tafuta place atawaka afanya thesis zake.
Stories that will inspire and encourage you.
Hiyo kitu ilisha waswa ni clap. Sheila told us this is what we've been looking for.
And some that will even make you laugh out loud.
You have chapa kawa ya kutuliza temperature kabla hiyo story. Na wewe kuleta mandazi bro. Mbona ingekuwa coffee and mandazi Aya!
Make sure you catch the episodes of Coffee with Movie every Sunday at 8 p.m. Love is friendship that has caught fire. It is the month of love.
When you're loved truly, every grain of your personality changes. Ooh.
A great time to add more fire to your love life.
Why not have a journey before the climax rather than always thinking about the climax?
With great insights from our panelists.
It ought to start during the day. Ikifika pale jioni, sasa
At Global Precast Panels, we have the best quality, durable, and affordable precast panels to suit all your needs. Manufactured under a controlled environment, we have the best precast concrete panels, precast concrete floor slabs, precast concrete perimeter wall, precast concrete columns, and beams. Our panels reduce construction cost by up to 40% with absolutely no plaster required, including added soundproof benefits, convenient four-story buildings, schools, offices, residential houses, hospitals, and warehouses. Take advantage of our free transport. Contact us on 0702 24 7267 or 0796 24 7267.
Well, we apologize for that technical hitch. Nonetheless, we're here and back to the conversation. We're looking at what is happening in Mount Kenya, even as we couple that as to what has been captured on the dailies this morning. Still with me, Honorable Anthony Ikonya, Member of County Assembly, Kiambu Township. And we also have Honorable Ndegwa Wahome, who's the Chair, County Assembly's Forum, as we ponder on the same individuals from the Mount Kenya region who argue that the mountain has not split. It is just that quest towards getting the right person who is going to speak of the ideologies or speak of the interests of the common mwananchi down there at the Mount Kenya region, and make sure that he puts this to reality. Well, that is what they are in a search for. And I mean, I will loop you in again once again, Honorable Anthony Ikonya. I'm sorry, it's when there's a twist, it gets all the way even to what it is that we say. Here we are back at it. The question was, is the Mount Kenya region split? Yes, expounded hugely, and you say that, well, the mountain is not split, there's no problem, or it's not crumbling. It is only individuals that are positioning themselves to get positions that is in the next government. But my argument then would be, these are people who've been in previous governments. the current government. There are strong forces within the Mount Kenya region, and therefore individuals that you just cannot wish away. So in as much as we'd say that they're trying to position themselves politically, because such is politics, reality is that they are faces that very many people from other quarters would as well wish to work with.
Now, interestingly, what we see in the mountain is that we have a younger group of people emerging to become leaders who have a lot of following, for example. And I dare say this, we saw that playing out in Juja, and you can see it now playing out in Kiamba.
Yeah.
The bigwigs, the presumed bigwigs, for example, what happened to the likes of Kabogo, for example, during the Juja by-election? See, he came, he was not able to put his weight behind the Jubilee candidate which he was supporting. But look at the likes of Moses Kuria. Look at the likes of my co-panelist Ndegwa, who are now emerging to become political bigwigs. We have the likes of Kipani Shunga and what have you. So that is why I told you it is about jobs, because some of these people are no longer sure of their seats, for example. And I've given you a case in point of Kirinyaga, for example. Governor Igoro will be up against probably the CS in charge of security, that is CS Kibicho, who is you cannot play around with. So you look at Nyandarua, for example. I don't know whether my brother Ndegwa still wants, I don't know, he will tell us whether he wants the governorship of Nyandarua. Is not a person that you can joke around with. So don't think that Kimemia is there, just sitting there and comfortable that he's going to get his seat back. So he must look for a job, for the next job, for example. So that is why you're seeing some of these political formations that are coming up, and they are going to come up. This is just the beginning, including the so-called Kieleweke. I can tell you, and I told you, by the end of this year, there's going to be a massive exodus. And I can tell you, it's going to be Kieleweke to Tangatanga, because what seems to be sold now and what seems to be selling. And if you look at what William Ruto is, for example, doing, he has realized, there's a political analyst who said a very interesting thing, that probably those people who are the sympathizers of the likes of Raila Amolo Odinga wants to just have a session of the Mount Kenya region, for example, about 30%. Yeah. And on realizing that, what the DP has done is now gone to other communities and try to popularize himself and come up with a party that includes everyone, as opposed to these parties that are saying the people who promise votes because the political parties belong to certain regions in this country. But as a mountain, let me go back to the mountain. I want to allude to what my brother, the Honorable Ndegwa, said, that we need to have a conversation around our own issues, around the economic issues that we have. We need to have people who negotiate on our behalves. And the other thing that we need to agree on, and that should come from the people who should go and negotiate for us.
Yeah.
Because that's very important.
All right.
Because the people who we've seen do meetings, the question that begs for an answer is, who have sent them?
All right, that's interesting. And when you say who is going to go negotiate for us, these individuals that we saw over the weekend argue that it is either they are at the top of the helm or they're not taking anything. And so this is interesting to imagine that, yes, you can have one of you going to negotiate on your behalf to a different leader from a different region. That is something that probably would not augur well with the majority of these leaders. Mheshimiwa, as we loop you in, Honorable Ndegwa, tell us, one, are you interested in the gubernatorial position, as of course Honorable Ikonya would wish to know? And is this what then triggers the bad blood that exists between you and your governor?
I think, and thank you for that. I've been avoiding making a declaration on that issue.
Okay.
But I think it is an open book for everybody in Nyandarua and those people who are interested in the politics of Nyandarua, that surely the people of Nyandarua, and I'm in agreement with them, want me to be on the ballot for the governor of Nyandarua.
Okay.
And there are many reasons for that they want me to be on the ballot. And God willing, I believe that I will be the governor for Nyandarua on the 10th of August 2022.
All the best.
The other issue, Honorable Ikonya has very well articulated that issue, is that these people are desperate. When you see these people, when you see a frog or a toad running during the daytime, then you know there is. And these people are learning from a danger that they are not even able to define. You cannot go out there to pretend to be negotiating for the Mount Kenya when you are not even able to offer any solutions at all to the youth of Nyandarua, to the youth of all those other counties within the region. When, like in Nyandarua, we have our main advantage is potato. you have not offered any solution at all for the last 4 years on this very big advantage for the people of Nyandarua, how it can trickle down to help the people of Nyandarua. When there are so many issues that you are not able to address at the county, now you go and confer on yourself some mantle at the mountain platform and expect that anybody is going to follow you. And I think, Rita, and I spoke about this one last week, we had the Rurie by-election. By just Kimemia appearing in the by-election for Rurie, the Jubilee candidate dropped because they associated that candidate with the failures of Governor Kimemia in Nyandarua. You have seen in Juja, Governor Nyoro was leading the campaigns in Juja. And actually, and Ikonya will confirm this, is that I'm told that the main reason why the Jubilee lost that seat is the face of Nyoro in Juja. And so we are saying these are guys who are running all around helter-skelter, looking for somewhere, because they have lost direction. They cannot see the beacon of prosperity that they had promised the people. Therefore, these big names will not control the destiny of Mount Kenya region, and I can assure you, it is the agenda of prosperity that will be convincingly transmitted to the people of Mount Kenya, that the people will follow, and then Anipado, who is the person who is carrier of this vision.
Well, and Honorable Ndegwa Wahome, last week confirmed that he's still in the Jubilee Party, unless something triggers his push or his defection to a different party, or to, supporting a different individual who would probably equally address the needs of his respective region. I would want to pick the conversation from where you started by saying, you are on the side of Deputy President William Ruto. I do not know whether that is what most of the people from the mountain would wish for, because in most cases, based on what we have seen them doing previously, sometimes they would even support an individual from a different region until the last minute when there's one that crops up within the Mount Kenya region and looks promising, then they would shift allegiance to this particular one. As you focus on, believing the ideologies of Deputy President William Ruto, don't you think it will be an undoing for the people of Mount Kenya to have a different press coming in, sailing through based on the indifferences that we witnessed between the East and the West regions of Mount Kenya? In this case, I am referring to Right Honorable Raila Odinga or Deputy President William Ruto, who are likely to sail through easily if these quotas remain the way they are today.
Let me first of all confess that I'm still in Jubilee. Jubilee is a party in terms of, I am physically there. Probably my mind and everything else have shifted and found a new home. But ideally, that's a vehicle that got me to where I am, and it is bound to take me to the end of this term. Technically that's it. But probably in terms of ideas, in terms of affiliation, probably I'm in a different place. Because I believe in one country, and I believe this country is bigger than any one of us. I want to believe that we need to have ideologies that affiliate themselves with no ethnicity or people that call themselves these or that other name, but a party that believes in everybody, and a bottoms-up economy, as well. So ideally, what I'm simply saying is, and the Honorable Ndegwa has said a very interesting thing, and I told you this before I answer your question. There's a new crop of leaders that has come up, and especially in the mountain, that have become a big wind, that are sweeping all over. Looks at the like of Dindi Njoro, the likes of Kimani Ichung'wah. Look at what is happening in Kiambaa today, for example. They have divided themselves into different wards within Kiambaa, and they've come from Buranga, the likes of Kangata, who is now in the US, making space for the Deputy President to come in this week and talk to the diaspora vote and what have you. So we have a crop of new leaders with new ideologies and a lot of energy, that put into it, and very strategic, as opposed to people who believe in pushing things, and having things done and calling themselves systems and what have you. But we have people who can now sit down and draw and draft and make sure that their plans are going on well. So when you talk of the mountain, I cry for the mountain. And the reason why I cry for the mountain is that the mountain, when you talk of the mountain, you do not talk about the leaders in the mountain. You talk about the people. So the question that begs for an answer is, who talks of the people? And when you talk about these two functions, you talk of the Deputy President and you talk of Raila Amolo Odinga. My very honest opinion, I do not expect to see somebody just come from somewhere and become a front runner in this thing. Okay. It's going to be a Ruto Raila thing. That's for a fact. The question that again I would tell that I would want answered is, if you go to the mountain today, and we've seen studies and statistics show that the hearts of the people of Mount Kenya still belongs to the promise that was made to Deputy President William Ruto.
Okay.
Because when within those 10 years, we all knew that we are doing this for 10 years, and then we had another arrangement for 10 years. So our hearts are still there. In as much as these other political formations are coming in, the hearts of the people are still there. And if you go to the ground, it's good to be very honest with ourselves. If you go to the ground, me, I'm a Mashirani person, I can tell you the hearts of the people are with William Ruto. And it's very evident. So now the question that I now ask, how do you now shift the hearts of these people to believe in a different person? Whereas the people who are trying to do that, you can clearly tell that they are serving their own interest. I think it's going to be very interesting. It's going to be very interesting. But I can tell you, the divisions in the mountain, we've been divided before. This is not the first time.
Yeah.
We've had two presidential candidates at the same time.
That's true.
So it's not a big thing.
But right now you have nobody. That's the biggest fear. There's still not a certain individual that has been identified.
So basically, that is what I'm telling you. What is going to play out in terms of negotiations? I can see the young blood. These young people that I'm talking about, who we had seen the other day, the likes of Rigathi Gachagua, who had gone to negotiate for an economic policy for the mountain. That is going to be one function. Against another function that is crafty, fronting the Raila Amolo Odinga. And what they want to do is just get a spirit of the mountain. And probably what they want to do now, that is why the likes of, for example, let me ask you, Linda, for example.
Right.
We've seen the Honorable Muturi, who is now being called the Mount Kenya spokesman.
Yes.
Spokesperson. Let me ask
you. Don't agree with that?
Let me ask you. How? Who was consulted? Who said? I mean, Kiambu, for example, and I've talked to people, they have already no idea how he was identified to become one. I think there has to be a process of wide consultation, a very wide consultation, because such a big decision is made. That is why you saw a week after, another group of elders from the mountain, of course credible elders, went to verify the entire event. So I think there has to be some wide consultation that involves the people, that involves aspirants, that involves church leaders, that involves women leaders, youth leaders from down here, so that when the mountain is negotiating, we are negotiating from a people-informed point of view.
Why should it be such a big deal if there's that feeling that it's okay, this is not an endorsement that comes from the people, and therefore just decide not to engage him in some of these issues? Why should it be such a big thing? And don't you think it was necessary that this happened so that we can now realize the indifferences that lies within, so that the people of the mountain
can
fix that?
If it just happened and then we left it at that, that would have been would not have been a problem.
Okay.
But you see, there is a follow-up by some leaders that tells you there was more than meet the eye. It was not just that event itself. There were some other leaders who informed to it, and they're now coming back to back the idea of Muturi and pushing it. So that was something that was crafted by some leader somewhere. So if it was just about him and he went and we forgot about it, but the follow-up is what now informs what you're saying.
All right.
Yes.
Before we even come to that rift, the East and the West rift that is now evident, probably a conversation that was triggered by this coronation of Muturi as the Mount Kenya spokesperson. Honorable Ndegwa, do you agree with what Ikonya says, that the mountain is still thinking of that narrative that was coined during the 2017 general election campaigns, that it is Kumi ya President Uhuru Kenyatta and Kumi ya Ruto?
I think unless we want to bury our heads in the sand, actually you go to the common ground in the mountain region, and that narrative stuck in many minds and in many hearts.
Yes.
And that is not something that you can just wish away.
Okay.
It is there, it is a reality, and from actually what is happening within the mountain, even during the by-elections, and the realignments that are happening in the mountain, you can tell that that narrative is still there, and it is taken very seriously by many citizens or the many residents of the Mount Kenya region. And definitely it will be a very, very major issue in 2022 general elections. You just ignore that one at your own risk. Otherwise, it's a very major issue of consideration as we go to 2022.
All right, then the coming in of these two crucial leaders, Right Honorable Raila Odinga and Deputy President William Ruto, what do you make of that, especially at a point when there's this evident division that is being showcased? If at all the mountain does not then speak in unison, do you suppose these individuals are likely to bring something, are likely to carry these ideologies that you speak about, the interests of the people of the mountain, as you so wish?
I think whatever is happening, in my very honest observation, is that this divide between the East and the West is being perpetrated purely to ensure that the Right Honorable Raila Odinga and also the Deputy President get some foothold in Mount Kenya region.
By who? Perpetrated by who?
Yes, Linda?
Perpetrated by who?
By those people who are running around in circles.
Okay.
And we have talked about them. Because at the end of the day, I believe that if we talk about the interest of Mount Kenya, then it will not be about personalities. But when we now start talking about the East and the West, we shall go back to our tribal cocoons. And that way we shall be divided, and therefore any person from outside the Mount Kenya who does not even carry the aspirations and the interests of Mount Kenya at heart might get some foothold in Mount Kenya region. Therefore, and that is why we are saying, as leaders of this region, we are going to have our say also. We are going to stand up at the top of the mountain and shout that our interest comes first and then everything else falls. Otherwise, what is happening is not an accident. Everything that happens in politics is meant to be that way. And even if it is an accident, it was made to happen, even if an accident. Therefore, whatever is happening is not an accident.
Okay.
It is trying to create a window, an entry point for some major players in the Kenyan politics to have a foothold in the Mount Kenya region.
Interesting. Now let's look at the papers briefly. The very same stories that have been captured, and Uhuru won't save Jubilee as allies scatter. Well, it is evident that there's trouble in Jubilee Party. Political trends show that parties fade after winning presidency, and Jubilee is headed in the same direction, with President Uhuru Kenyatta seemingly disinterested in saving it from the collapse. Of course, the utterances of the likes of Anne Waiguru and David Murathe, who are equally key figures within the Jubilee Party. Do you suppose the likes of Murathe are the faces that have gotten Jubilee Party to the limbo that it is in today?
Precisely, that's it. That's it. Yeah, the truth is that's the way it is.
No filters, all right.
Yes, and I tell you, they've really costed Jubilee a big time. If you look at the defiance that is rest within Murathe, and the chest thumping, and that altitude that he has really costed Jubilee, and has costed. For example, let me give you an example. We have a by-election in Kiambaa. I do not have any interest in Kiambaa, but I've been watching and I've been looking at things. For example, who is it that Jubilee today can send to campaign for their candidate? I saw it yesterday. The likes of Ngonjiri Wambugu. How popular is Ngonjiri Wambugu today, even in his own constituency in Nyeri? If Ngonjiri Wambugu appears in your campaigns, then you can
sure that you've lost.
80% you've lost.
Okay.
Some of the characters I saw from the Jubilee side, Jubilee has been left with those people who still believe that they can force their way into things, who still believe that there's something called systems. There are things that people can use and muzzle people to take a certain position. But I'll tell you, people have shifted from that. And they're just looking at those people and waiting for time to come so they can put them in the right places. So I think who have costed Jubilee, Jubilee, I'll tell you, the likes of Vikida Morade, the likes of those people who just stamp, and force their ways into things. Dennis Wawere, for example, was in that campaign. But if you look at the way UDA is carrying its campaigns, and you look at the young blood that they're bringing in, the people who become very popular, the likes of Vakina Irongo Kangata, they brought in the likes of Vakina Ndeni Njoro, they brought in the likes of Kimani Ichung'wah, they brought in those people to campaign campaign in Kiambaa, for example. They are in Jubilee fine, but their affiliation again is in, and Kiambaa, for example, is very interesting. If you look at the candidate that Jubilee has, was a candidate that was largely affiliated with UDA. But was the last time the deputy president was in Kiambaa, the candidate that took him is the Jubilee candidate now, all right? So there is that, push and pull. But to tell you, it is the characters that exist within Jubilee that have ripped off Jubilee to where it is today. It is the Tujus of the day. It is the Morales of the day. It is the Waigoros of the day, who seems to still have that notion that chama ni ya watu fulani.
Would you agree that the president is no longer interested in, putting this party together or having it, hold?
I don't think. I think the president knows that he has lost it.
Okay.
It's beyond repair, And I think that I was with you here the last time that he lost in Juja, and he had to call them State House, and he was very furious. He even chased them away. His realized that so much has happened behind the scene, and a lot of resources have been spent by people putting things together, whereas they've squandered that money and done irreversible things. So I think the president is sure that you can no longer solve the Jubilee. I don't see, anyway, what interest would he be having, for example?
All right, wait a minute. In all that assurance, Honorable Ndegwa, it is historically been proven that most of the outgoing presidents or leaders will always be keen to leave a person that they would prefer as they exit the stage. I mean, we have seen himself, President Uhuru Kenyatta, being endorsed by the likes of President Moi, may his soul return, the late President Moi, may his soul rest in eternal peace. We have seen how keen a majority of them have been to say, you know what, even as I exit, this is the person that I would support. This is the person that I would endorse. It was almost, funny to imagine that such is not what played out in Liberia when Ellen Johnson Sirleaf was exiting the stage. She stayed clear, out of these conversations of who's going to be the next president and so on and so forth. So it is probably different from what we have witnessed, and most of the times the outgoing presidents in the country will always have a preferred candidate. Do you suppose then President Uhuru Kenyatta would be keen to endorse Right Honorable Raila Odinga? And if such is the case, then what are the chances for Right Honorable Raila Odinga vis-a-vis those ones for the deputy president in Mount Kenya region?
Okay, maybe I weigh in a bit, Linda, on the Jubilee party.
Yes.
I think that the president entry is full, and one of his legacy programs, I don't think is the Jubilee party. I think he has running out of time, and there are things that he has to deliver on that he had promised Kenyans, and that is why you have seen that he was in Lamu, he was in Nyanza, he was everywhere, doing things that he will be remembered for a long time to come. I don't think that the Jubilee party is one of it. And I would say that the main downfall of Jubilee, because that is where it is, and everybody who needs to talk has talked about it, is that people like, and I've mentioned, like people like Tuju, and I said, like in Nyandarua, those people who support the agenda of the president. Like now, I said last week that 6 MCAs have been thrown out of the assembly by the Raphael Tuju, trying to help destroy me so that he can give Kememia a chance of survival in 2022, which is unfortunate because people have turned against him completely. Because these are some of the MCAs who are very proactive. They are at the grassroots with the people, but those are the people that Raphael Tuju is chasing away. And I don't think that those kind of MCAs would have any business to do with the Jubilee, which is killing their social and political standing in society. Therefore, for Jubilee, I think we shall allow it to take its own course, and I hope that nature will be kind to it.
Okay.
Because kind of rights it has destroyed in Mount Kenya region is not fair, and it is not right. It is not within the law. It is just at the whim of a single person by the name of Raphael Tuju and maybe 2 or 3 other associates there.
All right.
On the president anointing a successor, I don't think that President Uhuru would want to do that.
Okay.
And because history is replete with such attempts which have backfired very, very badly. And I think it started with the second president, Moi Kibaki. We know there were some attempts, but then he retreated and he had not come out very openly. I think for President Uhuru, he will allow things to run their course. Obviously, we will not be there watching like a lame duck. We will try through not direct endorsement, try to the direction of his succession. But I don't think with the kind of Kenyan landscape that we have, that try to.
All right, what are the prospects for these two individuals, Right Honorable Raila Odinga and Deputy President William Ruto, in terms of, well, what they're fronting right now, their positions previously and as it is right now? Many have argued that Right Honorable Raila Odinga is not sellable in Mount Kenya region in totality. What then would be their chances if we were to look at these individuals? You're the very same person who said that, well, the race is between these two men.
Yes, I quite agree. Let me just weigh in on the question that you asked, the Honorable Ndegwa, and tell you something. Uhuru Kenyatta may not be interested in terms of, he would not directly say who is going to succeed him. But you see, actions will speak louder than words. And we look at the people who believe in you and your close followers and they stand and what they're doing. And probably that informs us what you think and what you're planning. You may not necessarily say, I endorse this or that person. But if you look at the people who sit next to you, the people you dine with, you know, the positions that they take and the kind of arrangements that they're trying to propagate out there, that would inform us where you are. So leaving that aside, I'll tell you about the mountain, because that's where I come from. Selling Raila Amolo Odinga in the mountain is a very difficult thing.
Okay.
It's a pretty difficult thing.
But you agree also with the kind of support that he enjoys in the country, as Herman Manyora would argue.
Yes.
He really needs very little from the mountain to, you know, substantiate whatever it is that he will have and guarantee him a position right at the top.
I quite agree. But be that as it may, let us look at what is happening right now. If you look at election being a near to, we just about a near or thereabout, what is it that he's doing to guarantee, or rather, how is his house? His house, that guy sits in government. Okay. He's doing things in government. He's not out there looking for votes. And
that's what they have gone against over the weekend. They say it is bad for people to point fingers at Right Honorable Raila Odinga at this point because of the failures of the government, to point fingers at the Luo community because of the failures of the Jubilee government today. I
am not saying that I'm pointing Raila Amolo Odinga for any failure in the Jubilee government. Okay. What I'm simply saying is he's very comfortable, dining with the government, whether we attribute the problem to the government with him or not. Okay. He's very comfortable, and if you look at the likes of William Ruto, he's going to the vote-rich regions of Raila Amolo Odinga and doing a very substantive job. He's done fundraising, and we've seen even in by-elections, we've seen where ODM enjoyed a lot of support. We have seen it now UDA in the weight in those places. Yeah. So basically what we're saying is, in terms of arranging yourself, rather in terms of making sure that you cringe to the seat in the next general election, is a question of a couple of a near plus before. What is it that you're doing?
Okay.
Look at NASA, for example. NASA has a lot of problems, and we saw the Honorable Musalia Mudavadi saying that. There is no way we would, as a group, go for presidency. And at one point, when the handshake happens and you get some green pastures, you go alone.
Okay.
All right? And then you expect us, now when again you need us, we will regroup again. It's not possible. And he's saying, look even at what we given as political parties, what NASA gets.
They get all, ODM gets everything.
You eat the whole of it.
Yes.
When we go to the National Assembly, some of the seats that are even reserved for us, out of what you call in the handshake, you even denied us some of these seats. And they're saying we cannot, it's no longer tenable, so we can no longer stay here. So is Kalonzo, so is everybody. So to get the act together is going to be very difficult, because you remember, Raila Amolo Odinga was, look at Ruto, for example. Ruto is going it alone. In as much as he's trying to get a party that will cut across the entire country, as opposed to when Raila is looking for presidency, then he brings in all these people, so that they can bring in the support from the region.
All right.
And this is another person who's building a party that he's not going to depend on anyone in Ukamani.
But is it not what we seek to have? And he has said so.
Yes.
If you are a region that seeks to go it alone, then you are losing the entire, thing. But if you are to get individuals from other quarters and form a national outfit, then you are better positioned.
You do not need individuals. You need a belief by the people.
Okay.
Because again, we're talking about these people who who can't even get seats for themselves to begin with.
Okay.
All right? They're nowhere in government. And these are people they're telling us they're going to give you the support. And the people are with them.
Honorable Ikonya, you cannot wish away these individuals.
You
They
cannot.
enjoy some
You cannot.
numbers.
But I'm telling you, at this day and age, the best thing that you'd have, it's not the arrangement of those people.
Yeah.
If you'll get the hearts of the people, if you're able to send an ideology to the people, like the hustling ideology, for example, to the people, it is better as opposed to you can have the hearts of the people with their leaders. But the best arrangement, that would be the best arrangement, as opposed to getting the leaders and hoping that now the leaders will deliver all these people to you.
Honorable Ndegwa, would you believe in what it is that the Tanga side is selling as an ideology, and acknowledging the fact that we've had Mount Kenya region leaders equally being part and parcel of this conversation and saying that, you know, it is good that they go out there and negotiate the interest of their very own people. They have tried to do that, at least from what it is that we have seen. Do you think they're likely to bring something to the people of Mount Kenya, if not the people of Kenya? Kindly unmute. Yes.
What I would say is that what the Tanga side or faction are doing is that they are now putting it in a very structured way. The bottom-up approach on and looking at the triggers of economic growth through microeconomies. But I think even if you look at the Jubilee Manifesto, that was the same issue. So, and this has been a problem of this country. What I would want to hear more from the Tanga function is on the implementation matrix.
Yes.
Because we have so many good things on paper and blueprints, but the issue is implementation. How do we now see the reality of these things? Otherwise, I have looked at that economic blueprint by the Tanga and the way it is, and actually, obviously, it would be an economic turnaround if it would be implemented the way they have put it there. Just the same way I had a lot of hope in the Jubilee Manifesto when I looked at it in 2012. And I actually knew that Kenya is, that was the TNA first. And then we came to the Jubilee. And I thought that Kenya will never be the same again. There will be economic transformation, and that this would be felt by the person at the very grassroots, and that the youth was the target. And therefore, the future actually held a lot of hope for the people of this country. Therefore, as we have said, leader, it is how you are able to convince the people, especially of Mount Kenya, that this will become reality, and that there are very, very clear fundamentals that are in place, that it will actually come to reality. And the people of Mount Kenya, I can assure you, will listen.
All right. It is a beautiful blueprint, so to speak, when we talk about bottoms up, and I think most of the Kenyans would tell you that's what they want. But remember, these are not new faces. These are individuals that have promised us almost heaven on earth before. They have not been able to implement, not been able to deliver. Why should we believe that when they are going to deliver something for the Mount Kenya region? Well, I am sorry that I'm saying the Mount Kenya region is because we are discussing the Mount Kenya region right now, and something for the people of Kenya at large.
Linda, you know, I will tell you something for a fact. We came from TNA, then came Jubilee. And we had a 10 years plan that was called the Jubilee Manifesto, you know. If you look at the Jubilee Manifesto, where did we lose it? We were on the right trajectory until we found ourselves doing things called the handshakes.
Okay.
Because I believe that's where we lost it, you know. So idea, because if you look at the players, in that manifesto, the implementers of our manifesto, one of them was the deputy president, who was lost in the handshake. And probably when they came up with the Big Four, which was a very good idea, we at one point seems to have abandoned that idea and formed the handshake, which now transformed itself into something called BBI, and a long story. And we are where we are because of all those things. But I want to believe that any serious government that would want to deliver to its people is that when you do away with side shows and really concentrate on the print that we have. We have had challenges along the way. We have COVID and all those things. We quite agree. But again, we need, as Ndegwa is saying, that in as much as we have a blueprint that is so good, we need to have a matrix upon which we look at how we implement and timelines, you know, and how do you, for example, like what I was putting in the budget, for example, when you talk about borrowing, we've now had a blueprint that tells us this is how we're going to repay our loans. While as Article 220 provides for that, you need to attach with the budget, you know, a formula on which you will supposed to do some of these things, like, for example, repayments of loans and what have you. So you also need to have a matrix plan that will inform, you know, the fallout of these projects and timelines.
All right.
And how we're going to do it, where we're going to get funding for it, how is it going to benefit our people. I think that, again, is very important. But the blueprint is very nice. We only need to put away shenanigans and political, you know, political things that are not helpful. For, like
I wish we would trust that that can be possible, that we'd have individuals who speak of, yes, the interest of the people in totality and not have these political shenanigans. Yes. Even as it is, we've seen the shenanigans, you know, in existence in Tanga as early as now. Then we ask ourselves, are there possibilities that these same individuals are likely then to push this beautiful blueprint that you speak about to the next level in terms of implementation? Allow us to take a short break, Mheshimiwa, on that. And we come back, expound some more on that, and also these stories that have been captured, very interesting stories as to Ruto himself having moles in Uhuru's cabinet and therefore, you know, somehow running the show. After this break.
Global Precast Panels, we have the best quality, durable and affordable precast panels to suit all your needs. Manufactured under a controlled environment, we have the best precast concrete panels, precast concrete floor slabs, precast concrete perimeter wall, precast concrete columns and beams. Our panels reduce construction cost by up to 40% with absolutely no plaster required, including added soundproof benefits. Convenient for story buildings, schools, offices, residential houses, hospitals, and warehouses. Take advantage of our free transport. Contact us on 0702 24 7267 or 0796 24 7267. Global Precast Panels Limited. Your reliable option for efficient construction.
These are the sights and sounds of a working nation. There are no shortages to remarkable ideas. What's missing is the will to execute them.
You need to stay relevant. If you don't, you're going to fade off.
Yes, they are a dime in a dozen, but the real meat on these bones comes from trying to realize them.
We just need to perfect anything. If it's drawing, if it's music, pursue it 100% because it's something that is giving back.
Join me, Violet Njoki, as I tell you the stories of these executed ideas, because yours could be next. Mondays, 7:30 p.m.
Hey, now that's hitting the right notes. When life gets boring, we bring out our play. You see, playfulness is in our DNA. It's in the way we move and laugh. It's in the way we walk, the way we rock, and how we just don't stop. You feel me? We add color to everything, to every day and every dish, because the world needs our crazy. We're the different flavors that make life more exciting. We're the ones who add color to every moment. Fanta, color every moment.
Well, the speaker is neither here nor there.
I should have done my outro from here.
Yes, I don't know.
And we're just like that. I look beautiful.
Into Morning Cafe, to Fridays from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. with me, Linda Alela, only on TV. Well, still with me, Honorable Ndegwa Wahome and Honorable Anthony Ikonya, as we try still to get a hold of Bunyasi Sakwa. And the conversation is on. Before we close on this one, Mushimiwa, it's really important that we also raise that issue that you brought on board now that we're talking about the Mount Kenya region and these two contenders, Right Honorable Raila Odinga and Deputy President William Ruto. And the NASA revival conversation is one that I really wanted us to have in the presence of Honorable Bunyasi Sakwa. But you know, politically speaking, and the conversations of coalitions and bodies that would be helpful to make sure that an individual finds themselves into power, and maybe we have a coalition or a team that then will speak hugely of the interests of the common mwananchi. I mean, is this really something that would work for these leaders? Forget about what is happening right now in terms of who gets the funding and who did not go by the memorandum as expected. The reality of the matter is that would they do the same thing and expect different results?
You know, we've talked about doing the same thing and different results. And before I even answer your question, I've seen a clip here when we went for a break of the Honorable Kimunya in Kiambaa yesterday, the leader majority, telling the people of Kiambaa that if you do not vote for the Jubilee candidate, then we're not going to release money for roads.
Okay.
The same candidate was not able to, the same person was not even able to deliver an MCA seat in Durie. He's in Kiambaa threatening people. You see, that is what is ripping off Jubilee.
Yeah.
And you see, that is why I'm saying we need to style up. You don't do the same things and expect different results. So I would tell you, for Raila Amolo Odinga, I think his goose is cooked. You know, even as we advance politically, even as people look, you know, and that's why you remember the day. There was a rumor going around that there is a possibility that Ruto would join Raila. If you did look at the people who believe in Raila and how they reacted to it, they were so
excited.
They were so excited.
All right.
They were so excited because they saw some new blood, they saw some new ideologies, they saw some new life. Because you know, they've stuck in a lifeless place for the longest time and they have not known what to do. So they have not come up with anything different, no new strategy, no new idea, no new strength. You know, for example, we do not see them giving room, space to the young people who come in with a lot of energy and ideas and what have you. So it's the same old thing.
If the allegation that the votes were stolen, or the allegation that it wasn't a free and fair process, was anything to go by, don't you think that, well, the individuals still will deliver something? I mean, these individuals coming together would still deliver something? I will tell you the allegation of votes being stolen was nothing, was absolutely nothing to go by. Is it so? It was absolutely nothing to go by. Okay. Yeah, so, you know, and coming close to government and expecting there is something that government does to determine who wins the elections or not, I should tell you that Uhuru Kenyatta was not in government when he became president. They were all there with William Samoei Ruto. And it's about the people. Is how many of the people that you have that determines whether you win an election or not. Yeah. Largely, that's what happens. So the other small factors that plays out. But ideally, that's what happens. So these are still the same people, the same old ideas, the same strategies. They still kind of grieve to date. So I don't see anything much coming from that camp. Okay. Yes. Right. Honorable Ndegwa, what do you make of that? I mean, is one thing that we just cannot wish away. If two principals are excited about working together again, and such is what we have seen anyway, and there's not a single time where we've been told that the NASA coalition has been quashed, or official communication that there's no NASA coalition. If that is anything to go by, do you suppose then that they stand a chance, and this would be a good way or a good foot to start from for the likes of Right Honorable Raila Odinga?
I think there has been a lot of betrayals and backstabbing in NASA. Although everything is possible in politics, yes, and that you can never rule out these people coming up back together, but I doubt that trust, even from their supporters, will ever be the same again. I think the climax of this was 2017, and we shall never see it in that format again. I think the kind of letters I've seen going between the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, Musalia Mudavadi, and Kalonzo Musyoka, writing to each other very nasty letters, free of any kind of diplomacy. Yeah. definitely that trust is lost. And once that trust is lost, it will never be recovered in full. But they can try to cover up some kind of an arrangement because survival also. Desperate times call for desperate measures.
That's true.
And from the tone at the barrier of Karebe, I could tell that those were desperate times for the two things. Most importantly, leader, is that the Kenya, we are coming to a situation where that when you come into a coalition with Kalonzo Musyoka, there is no assurance that the Kamba people will follow Kalonzo Musyoka to that coalition.
Okay.
When you come into coalition with the Musalia Mudavadi, there is no assurance that the real people will follow Mudavadi into that coalition. And that goes across to all the kingpins. And you can see from the by-elections, they are setting very clear signals. Even in Nyanza, where Baba's word is raw, you could see like Ikonya. He goes there in Ikonya and campaigns against Ochieng. And he says that Ochieng is a Ruto person and he should not be elected as the MP for Kenya. And the people of Kenya elected as the MP. So we are coming to a situation that Kenyans are wise enough and they are looking at a person and their ideologies. And that is largely what they go for. Coalitions can be there, but I can say they will never have the kind of influence they had up to 2017. 2017 is the last glory that we saw for these coalitions, where kingpins drive their tribes to a certain agenda.
All right, well, interesting still on you, and let's shift gears briefly. Do you suppose President Uhuru Kenyatta is under attack? And also just to go by what has been captured on the front page of the Daily Nation, and it speaks of 2022 succession politics. That one we have touched on, the defiance that is in Mount Kenya. But this one, Ruto malls in Uhuru cabinet, and they're just waiting for that moment when they will declare their interest. One, I don't know whether this is something that should surprise us, because we know very well, or at least this is what we were told, when these individuals were looking to have the people who will represent them at the cabinet level, it was almost like, you know, this is my man, this is yours. So they sat on the table and said, huyu ni wa Ruto, huyu ni wa Uhuru, huyu ni wa Ruto, huyu ni wa Uhuru. That's what the cabinet conforms or is conformed of. Do you suppose that there's some truth in this statement as captured on the papers, and what then does it mean for the delivery of services, the attainance of getting to a point where President Uhuru Kenyatta is capable of at least having something left for the legacy conversation, if such is the case?
Yes, leader, I think if there were no morals in the cabinet, even I think they are only concentrating on Ruto. I believe even Baba has also his morals in the cabinet.
Okay.
And Ruto definitely has morals in the cabinet. And this is what is expected. If it is not that way, then it will not be a proper, wholesome political discourse or dispensation. And what is there is that these members of the cabinet, there are also have their own personal interests. And most of them, as of now, they are looking beyond President Uhuru Kenyatta. The beauty of it, and the only hope that Kenyans should have in, is that these ministers are only at the policy level, and that the bureaucracies in these ministries will always continue working despite who is the minister and wherever the minister is placed. But I think this is for the politicians as a country, is that although it will have some impact, but definitely moving on, but most of the cabinet, honestly, most of the cabinet members are looking beyond President Uhuru Kenyatta.
All right, coming to you, Honorable Ikonya, to imagine that, well, these people who are looking beyond President Uhuru Kenyatta are considered as moles. How then President Uhuru Kenyatta gets to a point where he delivers what it is that he seeks to deliver, and he's really focused on the same in as much as time is really not on his side?
I think the separate things, my analysis of this thing is threefold. One, I would look at the so-called moles, people brought in, as you already said, that the people who Ruto brought in and President as well brought in. So they will be sympathizers of the President, Deputy President, by virtue of the fact that he played a role in them coming to the cabinet. That'd be one way of looking at it. Number two, you look at political interests. Most of the cabinet secretaries that I've had have a political interest in as much as some of them were brought by the president himself. Their political interest in places where Ruto seems to be thriving. For example, to give you likes of Sisri, who has an interest in Nyandarua, which is Nyandarua sympathizers of the deputy president. So he may be turning his affiliation from the person who brought him in to a certain point within, they've realized that the show is coming to an end, the curtains are falling, and then you have a political career ahead of you, and you have to look at how it's going to play out. So you do not know what befalls you or when you exit government and you want to get into politics. So you want to align yourself right.
I would want to believe that President Uhuru Kenyatta is privy to this information.
Yes.
And then why is it that he resisted a reshuffle that really was called for by many?
Yes, allow me to finish. That thing would be a question of job seekers, as I said. People are looking at the next life, because the show is ending here and the curtains are falling. So we're looking at a scenario where we need to have continuity with our jobs. Probably we'll get jobs as envoys in other countries in the next government, and job seekers, that will play out. But coming to your question, every time a dispensation is going to another, that plays out, and Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta knows that. And that would not really distract his Big Four agenda, for example.
Okay.
These people will continue working. Ideally, they would even work harder and try to get projects along, there are places where they have political interest and what have you. And so it will not largely interfere with, their performance and that kind of thing. But towards the close of this show, where the curtains are falling, then they will show straight political affiliation to certain, sides, but not necessarily affecting their work. Because, see, this is a properly defined, the budget is there and there's a definition of what you need to do. These are projects you need to roll out and that kind of thing. So the only thing that would be affected is their delivery, their performance. Because you see, if you have a political interest, then you need to keep going to the ground and talking to people and that kind of thing. That affects your performance. That will play out. So I know Uhuru knows that too well. We are yet to see what he's going to do. We all know the likes of his good friend Matiang'i has political interest, So it's a big thing. So, yes.
All right. And I started by asking whether the president is under attack. Well, based on what we have seen, is also a story that has been captured. Who's fooling who in the row over judge's appointment, and was the list that of the tainted officials changed? That is a conversation that has been on. But my biggest question then would be, if, the president is under attack, and that aside, what then do we need to have the arms of government working together? Because then they pose a situation where we are likely facing a scenario that will fold the people of Kenya into anarchy. Honorable Ndegwa.
I think the president is not under attack. What I would want to say is that Kenya being a democracy, and that space being there, people are exploiting that space and making their voices be heard. I think I'm in a dilemma as a lawyer to start with. Because one is that if it is true what has been said by the former Chief Justice, David Maraga, and what has been said by the former JSC Vice Chair, Advocate Deche, that the list of the purportedly tainted judges was changed midstream. That is a very seriously unfortunate occurrence in the constitutional order of this country. And it cannot be wished away, and I believe with that kind of sentiments and coming from those quarters, the president should establish a kind of an inquiry on the really those names, the 41 of them, which had issues and which had not, and whether those some names were changed and replaced by others, and why. So these are issues that we cannot just ignore. We cannot sweep them under the carpet.
Right.
They are very serious. Secondly, with those kind of issues having been raised, I think for me, and I believe the president will do the right thing, to just appoint the 6 judges, because as we start today now, there is a lot of doubt as to whether those were the judges that were initially fingered by the intelligence services as having some integrity issues. So for me, as of now, everybody have had their say. Kenya must move forward. I would, if I was the advisor to the president, ask him to just swear the 6 judges.
All right.
My take on it would be, it is very clear, and the Constitution is very clear on the process of appointing judges. So it is incumbent upon the president to swear in the entire list that comes from the JSC. If there was a change of names, it's really unfortunate. We need to inquire into that and get to the bottom of it, because the process of vetting those judges by the JSC was very clear and properly documented. So we need to go to the documentary bit of it and see what happened from when they applied to when they got the positions and the proposals were taken to the president by the JSC. We need to interrogate the entire process. But my reservations have been on NIC and the reports that they give to the president, because it is very clear that if you have any reservations to any of those judges, then that information ought to be taken to the JSC at the point of vetting, so that you do not allow that person to even get into that list, because the integrity issues have been raised, you know. And then you see, we're talking about judges who are still in office, and no allegations have been made. No allegation, for example, in terms of their conduct has thereafter been made to the JSC in terms of their conduct, so that the JSC would take action. You know, like when you talk of bribery, when you talk of you know, drug cases and the way they made verdicts, you see, there is a process to it. When you think this is a wrong judge and he has done the wrong thing, the process is very clear.
Yeah.
These are things that you take to JSC. So why have information that you're not having processed and is not going to help anyone? Why would I have information on you and keep it, and then keep alleging that Linda is corrupt, you know, and is underperforming? I need to take this information to your boss for processing and action to be taken. You don't just keep talking about it and you know, because that is just purporting. JSC needs to investigate into that. So, as far as I'm concerned, I would wish the president would take heed to what Kenyans are pleading to him. Just swear in the 6 judges and we move.
Okay.
Because if you look at
to weigh in on that.
You're right.
Is that and Ikonya has raised a very, very important point, is that these are judges who are already serving on the bench. Either one of them is a registrar, the other one a chief magistrate, and the others are judges of the High Court. If they had any integrity issues, since 2019, we had expected that some disciplinary process through petitions to the JSC would have been commenced. But 2 years down the line, nothing has happened. Again, as of now, there is any movement towards petitioning for any disciplinary process for their removal from office. And they are still serving every day of the week. They are sitting on the benches across this country. Therefore, as we talk about swearing in of these 6 judges, the second issue is that if they have any issue after being sworn in, then the disciplinary process should be commenced so that they can be removed, and when they have been subjected to the rules of national justice, that they have been given an opportunity also to be heard and to have their say in this process. Otherwise, the way these things are is a conundrum, and it is throwing a lot of integrity issues across the entire judiciary, and actually creating a kind of a very big fight between the executive and the judiciary. And I think these are matters that can be resolved, and trusting our president and our brand new Chief Justice. I believe that within the shortest time possible, this should be a thing of the past, so that this country can be able to move on. But finally, I would want to beseech and entreat Parliament. We have added another 4 judges to our benches, to our courts. But the budget of the judiciary has been reduced by 800 million.
Right.
Already the judiciary was complaining because of lack of sufficient funds. Parliament, as they pass the budget, can they really consider the judiciary, to enable the judiciary to deal with the backlog? Kenyans are suffering in the courts. Parliament kindly do the right thing for the judiciary, but ensuring sufficient funding.
And that's exactly my point, or my next point, even as you finish on what you were saying.
Probably to wind up on what you said, I would really beg the Attorney General of this country and the legal advisors of the president. I think they've been doing a shoddy job, if you ask me. Why is it that every decision that the president makes, finds its way in court, that is faulted and the courts would nullify it. For example, look at what happened in the Nairobi Metropolitan Services. You know, most of the decisions that look at the seats of the CAS and what have you, all of them are being annulled by the courts. So what does that tell you? That the legal advisors of the president are either not telling him the truth, or they're shy of, there's something going on within, the legal advices of the president. So I think before anything happens, before the president takes any decision, there needs to be a lot of legal consultation. And I hope he does not consult the likes of Akina Murave and what have you. I would want to believe that he consults real, legal minds to it. So that when he goes to court, when it's challenged in court, then he stays afloat. Because otherwise, every other decision he makes, he goes to court. And tell me, the courts are serious. And you see, I see people fault judges and saying that judges take sides. These are people who look at the law. This is what the law says. All of us who assume that these things are supposed to happen this way. But we have the law, and a judge has sought to protect the Constitution and therefore make decisions and judgments based on the law. So I think we need to advise the president appropriately. Yes.
All right, and on that very note, then we get to understand how do we have the arms of government working, if not in tandem, complementing each other as stated in the Constitution. If not so, how then do we avoid a scenario of anarchy? Because that's evidently where it is that we're headed.
No, we simply need to let them be independent.
Okay.
When you see the executive determine who becomes the leader of majority and determines who sits in what committee and determines who, let the judiciary be the judiciary, allow them to do their own things, give them space to operate, and allow them to do registrations based on the needs of Kenyans. Let the judiciary do its work. Do not manipulate the judiciary. Let the judges make decisions and don't fault them in speeches and out here. Let every arm be independent. And so that way, there'll be harmony.
Is this a finger being pointed at the executive?
Largely, yes.
Largely, yes. All right. Honorable Ndegwa, what do you make of that as we close on that subject?
So what I would want to say is that the Constitution is very clear, and the operationalizing statutes on the Gotv and the judiciary and the parliament, they are very, very clear on the roles of these arms of government. And I believe that if we observe the reins, then I don't think there will be a lot of problems. And because these arms are supposed to check and balance each other for the benefit of the country. And therefore, for me, is that as it is said, let us do the right thing as the executive, let us do the right thing as the parliament, and let us do the right thing as the judiciary, and we shall have a better country for all of us.
Briefly, as we close on the budget, I know this did not augur well with a majority of Kenyans, and like you've also said, as a member of the legal fraternity, you have registered your distaste, a disappointment on the budgeting and what was allocated for the judiciary or to the judiciary. What do you make of the entire budget, and at a point when we are speaking about a scenario where we're going to have the debt ceiling hit the roof, and even worse, the taxpayers' pockets being pinched on even harder?
I think the budget actually targeted the soft underbelly. That is where Kenyans' interests are. Because when taxes are directed at wheat products, when taxes are directed at petroleum products, I think then we are saying that the taxation regime is wholesome. It has actually captured the entire interest of the common mwananchi. I don't think that is very good for this country, and especially where we are now. And I'm saying there is still another chance for Parliament up to 30th of June to look into that document. Listen to the aspirations of their people. They represent people. And then they do the right thing. Otherwise, that budget, and being the last budget for the president, Parliament would not be doing the right thing for even the president himself, because the president might not, he has a lot of duties, ako na majukumu mengi. He might not be able to be there to say that things are done this way. But the people of Kenya see these things through their members of parliament.
All right. Mheshimiwa?
Yeah,
the
I'm
budget.
sure, I'm sure this is going to be parting short, of course.
Yes.
We have very few minutes, and I want to wrap up on what the Honorable Ndegwa has said in terms of the budget making process. It fell short of expectations of Kenyans, and all is not lost. We still have Parliament, and by 30th is when they'll be winding up with this document. So just hope that they're going to capture the aspirations of Kenyans. They live with the people, they represent the people as alluded by the Honorable Ndegwa, and therefore we need to have Parliament seriously look at priorities that we have as a country, and then align that budget in terms of priorities, and then do not overburden Kenyans in terms of our debts and whatever. That is number one. Number two, I want to digress from what we're discussing here, because I've seen something very interesting in the papers today. We are having Form 1 selections results expected out tomorrow. I have a personal problem with these results. I come from Kiambu, where some of the best schools are. We have the likes of Alliance, we have the likes of Maryhill Girls, Alliance Girls, most of the national, some very credible national schools. But hardly do the students in Kiambu find spaces in those schools. In as much as we want to call them national schools, it is our parents that surrendered that land. It is us that built those schools. Then we need to have proper consideration. I'll give you statistics, for example. In Loreto Rimuru, for example, last year's election, it is only one student from Kiambu County, the entire county, that found space in that school. So is the likes of Alliances and all those schools. So I think we're being treated unfairly here. And then our students are being sent to national schools that are very far away, ill-equipped and what have you. And we have students from out there enjoying the facilities that Kiambu have. We are the people who volunteer this land. We are the people who maintain these schools. Some of them are maintained by churches that we fellowship in. So I think we need to get a fair consideration of slots that exist within
but
this list.
Is it not just fair that every student is going to get
I agree. But you see, what I'm saying is a national school, fine, I agree. It's supposed to admit from all over the country. But you see, just like you hear with natural resources, when people bring us say, okay, in as much as we give in Nairobi water, let's also enjoy our water. I think it's the same argument that I have. In as much as we are going to allow students from other places, in Alliance Girls and Boys and what have you, in the national schools that we have, let us allow a good chunk of us from Kiambu, because also we gave out this land, we built these schools, Yes.
All right. That's an interesting argument. That is an interesting argument.
Yes.
But at least to commend the Ministry of Education saying that all the students that sat for the examinations will get a slot.
Yes, but in the best of our schools in Kiambu, I would wish that we get a considerable number of our students. Because we have students who pass well. Not them to send them to some funny schools out there, ill-equipped to allow.
How funny can it be?
Lastly, my brother Netanyahu, after 12 years.
Oh, yes. That one was one that we were supposed to touch after 12 years.
Yes. So that was very interesting. It
was really interesting. For a moment, I thought he's been the prime minister all those years, because he's been powerful, like you say, well known.
And everybody knows that I didn't see this coming. But anyway, curtains have gone down on him. So
he says he's there. He's coming back. Such is politics. Mheshimiwa, close it for us, please.
Okay, thank you very much, Rita.
This
engagement, I'm really also enjoying being here with Mheshimiwa Ikonya.
Thank you.
And I would say that it has always been very illuminating for ourselves and for the country when we come here and discuss all the emerging issues in this country. Again, today, Rita, we are going back to the Nyandarua County Assembly.
Yes.
And the courts have directed the police to keep off, except to facilitate that members and the staff have their free access to their workplace and do their things. And again, also I'm appealing for Governor Kimemia to stop his fascination with the Assembly. Just go and do the work that you're supposed to do for the people of Nyandarua. The Assembly will continue checking you and ensuring that you spend the Nyandarua people's money prudently so that it is for their benefit.
All right, well, All right, thank you so much, Mheshimiwa, on that. We are eagerly waiting to see what plays out in Nyandarua. It's been one house that has had its fair share of drama, but we all believe it's for the benefit of the people of this particular county. Thank you so much, Honorable Ndegwa Wahome, Chair, County Assemblies Forum, and Honorable Anthony Ikonya, Member of County Assembly, Kiambu. If you thought I would forget this time round, you are wrong. We close it at that, and we get to a different conversation. Remember that we are getting to that point where we celebrate World Blood Donor Day. I hope you...
But they're very interesting.
Yes.
We need to, I will challenge my brother, the Honorable Ndegwa, that let's find, I will pass by Kiambu Hospital, see if I can do something.
Yes, World Blood Donor Day. Please make sure that you do something if you are eligible to go and donate blood. That will definitely save a life. So we get into that conversation after this short break.